On today's Two on Your Side Town Hall, dropping charges. We're going to get some legal perspective tonight about the decision out of Albany that will give former Governor Andrew Cuomo a clean slate. Plus, quitting their jobs. The number of people doing that hit a new record late last year. We're going to ask an expert why and what's next. And a rough few weeks for restaurants as COVID cases surge and more challenges ahead. We'll hear how that industry is dealing with staffing problems that are only getting worse as Omicron spreads. Those stories are ahead, but first we're keeping a close eye on the winter storm watch in effect for a good chunk of our region. Good evening to you, everybody. Right off the top, we're actually going to show you a live look at downtown Winnipeg in the Canadian province of Manitoba. Why, you ask? Well, what's falling there right now is what is headed this way and will impact us tomorrow and Thursday. Winnipeg will get about a half foot of snow from this system as it crosses Lake Erie. By the way, it's going to get enhanced as well, meaning even the Buffalo Metro could get up to 10 inches or a foot of snow, with some parts of our region in the 20-inch range. One of the questions that we've heard is how common is a storm like this? Well, first off, about a third of the snow in Buffalo comes from lake effect systems, though we all know a lot more than that heads south of the city. So we looked back at the past 4 winters to see how often we have these big lake effect storms actually impact the city of Buffalo and the areas around us. One last winter, it was the day after Christmas, you might remember that. None for 2019-2020 season, same for 2017-18, but the winter in between those two got 2 big lake effect storms that actually hit the city. So we're going to get snowfall totals where you live and a full look at your Storm Team 2 forecast coming up a little bit later here on the Town Hall. Right now, we want to turn to some big news out of Albany. Just days ahead of former Governor Andrew Cuomo's arraignment on a forcible touching charge, the Albany County District Attorney is giving up the case. He said today that the accuser, Brittany Camiso, was cooperative and credible, but that there simply wasn't enough evidence to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. He's asking the court to dismiss the charges that were filed by the local sheriff, who did not consult prosecutors beforehand. So it looks like the former governor will not face any criminal charges related to his sexual misconduct. A lot of questions about this, so joining us live tonight is Paul Cambria, local defense attorney and kind enough to provide us legal analysis here at Two on Your Side. Paul, obviously, I know you don't have access to all the evidence here. None of us does, except the people, connected to it. But based on the conflicting statements between the sheriff and the district attorney in Albany, does it seem like this is just a case that maybe shouldn't have been brought in the first place?
Yeah, it seems that way. And it seems like we're going to find out more information as the days go by. There's some disconnect between the sheriff's department and the district attorney's office. As we knew from the past information, apparently the sheriff took it upon, one of the deputies took it upon themselves to file a complaint without consulting with the district attorney first. A complaint isn't sufficient. You need to have what they call an information. And now it seems as if the district attorney has exercised their discretion, which they're entitled to do. And I think that somewhere along the line, we're going to find that there may be some political thing here, some reason, motivation why these charges were filed without consulting with the DA's office.
Paul, I want to read you part of the statement that we got from the district attorney that his office put out, kind of announcing that this is what was going to happen. He said that while avenues for criminal prosecution in these cases are sometimes limited, he still encourages victims to come forward, saying that's an important part of this process. Other prosecutors have also announced that no charges will be filed against the former governor. Are these cases generally just difficult to prove?
Well, when it refers to other prosecutors, that didn't even fit the statute. The one in Albany fit the statute, but again, it's a one-on-one, he said, she said kind of thing. Again, we don't know why the sheriff apparently wouldn't cooperate or at least consult with the DA before filing these charges. And so, yeah, they are, when they're one-on-one, they are difficult to prove. When there isn't any physical corroborating evidence like an injury or DNA, things like that, then these are very difficult to prove.
Want to get your thoughts on a couple of other big legal stories kind of in the news right now, Paul. There is a lawsuit filed in state Supreme Court claiming that Erie County Health Commissioner Dr. Gail Burstein illegally collected overtime pay during the pandemic. This adds up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. This lawsuit has been championed by former Comptroller Stefan Mahailu. It was actually brought by the financial guys who are kind of two prominent conservatives in our area. Any merit to this lawsuit as you look through it?
I read the lawsuit. You know, there's three basic premise, if you will, to the lawsuit. Number one, they say that the job of health commissioner is a full-time job. And apparently Dr. Burstein has a private practice. So that's one of the things they say the law requires full-time. Secondly, they say the law requires a salary as opposed to an overtime situation. And lastly, their position is that even if there was overtime that was authorized, the records that were kept or given or submitted did not substantiate that. So what they're asking for is that basically Poland Cars and Dr. Burstein refund, if you will, this $200,000 that she was paid in overtime. Her regular salary is about $207,000, and there was over $200,000 in overtime. So basically double what they claim she's entitled to. She's supposed to be full-time, salaried, and the salary to be determined not by the county executive, but by the legislature.
Finally, Paul, we're almost out of time. We reported here yesterday that the state attorney general, Letitia James, has issued subpoenas for former President Donald Trump's two oldest children, Don Jr. and Ivanka. We already knew that there was a subpoena for the former president himself. This is part of the AG's civil investigation into the Trump organization. It's not criminal. But now all of the Trumps have filed a lawsuit to get these subpoenas quashed, I should say. Is that going to happen, or do you think they're going to have to testify under oath?
Well, obviously, it depends on what the grounds are to quash the subpoena. On the other hand, you know, the attorney general in New York, sort of a unique position. They can call you into their office and depose you as part of an investigation, but that still does not, if I were Trump's lawyer and I suspected that somebody was trying to say there was a crime involved, I would simply have them rely on their Fifth Amendment right and not say anything at all. And there wouldn't be anything that the attorney general could do about that. Here, what they're trying to do is quash the process which brings them in. Well, assuming they don't succeed there and they bring them in, they can still invoke the Fifth Amendment, not justify anyway.
We'll see how that plays out along with all these other cases. Attorney Paul Cambria, thanks as always for lending us your insight here. It's good to see you.
My pleasure.